Wipro. Do business better.
Hello and welcome to number 10 of this year's Global Telecoms Business and Wipro TV reports direct from Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. I'm your host, Alan Burkitt-Gray, and we're continuing our discussion about machine-to-machine, which is one of the big topics here in Barcelona this year. I've got with me, on my right, Jari Salminen, who's Business Development for Machine-to-Machine at Vodafone, and on my left, Peter Elliott, who's Head of Consulting for Media and Telecoms at Wipro. Welcome to both of you. Thank you very much. I'm going to start with you, Jari. There's a lot of talk around M2M at the moment. Is it still speculative, or are we moving towards a money-making proposition for the mobile business?
No, I think we're clearly moving towards a money-making business. So I think it's, the last couple of years we've been building up the momentum and the demand, but now we're starting to see real rollout happening in the market. So things like cars, smart metering are really starting to take off, and it's, for example, if you look at Vodafone as a company, we're really starting to invest and grow the business as a result of that. So yes, it's clearly happening now.
And Peter, for you and your point of view in Wipro as a consultant, are you seeing lots of operators actually putting real projects together?
Yeah, they are. They've started to find out where the real business models are, rather than a period of investment and then discovery. And as Jari is saying, healthcare, smart cities, and also transport are areas where people are finding business models that work these days.
And should carriers, are they got a role in it? Are looking for vertical and horizontal solutions, or where is the business model? What's the role for the carriers in the business?
So carriers are essential. Not only from a connectivity point of view, which we expect, but also the relationship they have with the customer, the trust they have, and the location. They are the owner of key parts of this value chain.
And as a Vodafone guy, I guess you would agree with that, but could you elaborate a bit? Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. So I think there's a couple of things. So connectivity is the absolute the core that we start from. But there's other capabilities like billing, customer information about people's location and movement that we can directly use. But it's also some of the other areas. So if you look at the ecosystem today, it's still very fragmented. So many of our customers still have to go and work with a lot of the players to pull these solutions together. So as an operator, we can also help to streamline and optimize the supply chain in delivering not only connectivity but hardware and some of the application layers as well.
Peter, should carriers be looking to go on their own or with partners? What's the sort of relationships that they have to build in this business?
I think it's an ecosystem. Whether the connectivity is there in all verticals, but each partner in that ecosystem, whether it's healthcare, whether it's transport, brings their own capability to that, and it's essential that is both end-to-end but also open as well.
Okay, thank you. And your thoughts? Can carriers do it on their own, or do they have to work with lots of enterprises or lots of systems integrators or people like that?
I think it's very much an ecosystem play, as Peter said. So we do have to. I think partnering and building the ecosystem is one of the kind of core capabilities that we need to build. It's something that we've done successfully in some areas, maybe less successful in some others. But in M2M, it's really a critical success factor. So, if you look at things like healthcare, you have to know the industry, in depth, how it works, what kind of business models you can put up. And we're not the specialists when it comes to healthcare or energy utilities, but we have a lot of the capabilities and also the ability to pull the ecosystem together.
With something like healthcare, though, that brings to mind the idea that it really should be 100% reliable, because if you're monitoring somebody's health, how do you guarantee that? Is that something that the telecoms industry is able to do?
Absolutely. I think healthcare has a lot of regulation around it. It's not just the reliability, but also security, securing patient data and so forth. But if you look at what operators have been doing for many years, our networks are extremely reliable. We are securing customers' data today and securing communications end to end. So I think a lot of the capabilities you can actually transfer from what we're doing today to healthcare.
And what do you think, Peter? Are you seeing that that's a big challenge to perhaps instill confidence in the healthcare specialists that the mobile industry can cater for the reliability that we need?
I think it's demonstrated itself as an industry over many years that it is very reliable, and compared to maybe some of our IT friends who are not quite there with the availability or reliability in all that case, I think they've shown that reliability is possible and delivered across all these applications.
And from your point of view as a consultant, what are the specialist skills and assets you think that carriers can bring to the whole M2M area?
I think there's two parts. So there's technical part and then there's the business value. The technical part has been demonstrated with the networks and how they've been built and the reliability. And then the business part is very much around, as Jari was saying, about the trust, the ownership of the data, how that data gets used, the capabilities they bring with billing and customer care. Those are real strong assets that are going to be used in any of these verticals.
And for some applications, I guess, international coverage is important. So does that mean that Vodafone, for example, has a really good strength there because you have such a wide number of networks around the world?
Well, if you look at M2M as an industry, it's been fairly early days since, but now we're starting to see projects becoming more global, becoming larger, and really, becoming also longer term. So having global capability is key, whether being an operator or a system integrator. I think it's always the global ability to execute is critical. And yes, it's one of the core strengths of Vodafone.
I mean, one of the challenges that I've heard from people is that the problem is with M2M is that you get so little amounts of data to bill for. Is that one of the problems that you see in getting the business model right?
It's taking it away from it's the value of that data. So I was talking to Jari before about one of the most useful applications we found in a wireless home was remote opening of the lock. And then that takes almost no data, but it was very useful for the person who's not present to be able to remotely open that door for somebody who was there. So this was a case of a child came home early, needed to be let in, or that sort of thing. So it's not the value of the data; it's the value to the person who's accessing that service.
So actually, it's more revenue for the operator for rather less data.
It's certainly new areas of revenue. I think we need to take away from, the whole idea of how much for each piece of data, whether it's unlimited or whether it's text messages, I don't think is a good area to focus. It's the value that it delivers to you.
Excellent. And what do you see, Jari? Do you see that this is something that will help the operators generate more revenue? Because they're struggling at the moment, having to carry more and more data for less and less revenue.
Well, absolutely. So I think it is a challenging environment today, but M2M is one of the core growth engines and core Vodafone strategy as well. When we talk about kind of how much data and maybe there's too little of that data, it's really the value of the data that makes a difference. And it's not just the amount of data, it's also things like the service level agreements and being able to guarantee that the data is delivered, which will also put a lot of value on that data. And the other aspect is that it might be small amounts of data, but you multiply that by millions of transactions, even billions of devices, and you're creating a sustainable business, assuming that you're very, very effective and efficient internally operating that. So automation and really having systems that you don't need to manually update are critical.
Well, that's very interesting. Thank you very much indeed. Jari, very grateful to you for coming today. And Peter, thank you very much indeed. And that concludes episode 10 of this Global Telecoms Business Wipro TV special for Mobile World Congress. And there'll be more coming later. Thank you very much indeed.
Wipro. Do business better.